In November 1949, deep in the coal-rich hills of Enugu, southeastern Nigeria, thousands of African workers descended daily into dark underground tunnels beneath the earth. They worked in dangerous conditions, breathing coal dust, risking tunnel collapses, and enduring exhausting labor for wages that barely supported their families. The British colonial government depended heavily on the coal mines of Enugu, but while the empire profited, the miners suffered. Then one tragic morning, a labor dispute would erupt into violence. Gunshots would echo across the Iva Valley Coal Mine, and before the day ended, 21 Nigerian coal miners would be dead. Their deaths shocked the nation, ignited outrage across Nigeria, and became one of the most powerful symbols of colonial injustice in Nigerian history. This is the true story of the Enugu Coal Miners Massacre. The story began in 1909. During British colonial rule, a British geologist named Albert Kitson discovered large coal deposits in Enugu. At the time, Britain was expanding its colonial economy across West Africa, and coal quickly became one of the empire's most valuable resources. The discovery transformed Enugu almost overnight. Railway lines were constructed, mining operations expanded rapidly, and thousands of Nigerians were recruited to work in the coal industry. Soon, Enugu became one of the most important industrial centers in colonial Nigeria. But beneath the economic growth, a darker reality was growing inside the mines. Across Nigeria, workers were beginning to challenge colonial exploitation. Labor unions and nationalist movements were growing stronger. Workers demanded fair wages, safer conditions, and equal treatment. One of the most influential labor leaders of the period was Michael Emudu, whose activism inspired workers across the country. At the Enugu coal mines, tensions became increasingly serious. The miners believed they were being exploited while the colonial authorities ignored their suffering. Disputes over wages and working conditions intensified. Then in November 1949, the situation exploded. On November 18, 1949, workers gathered at the Iva Valley Coal Mine during an ongoing labor dispute. Many miners had refused to continue loading coal wagons as part of strike actions connected to their demands. The atmosphere was tense. Colonial authorities feared the strike could spread further and disrupt coal production. Armed colonial police officers were deployed to the mining site. The officer leading the operation was British Police Superintendent F.S. Phillip. As police confronted the miners, tensions escalated rapidly. Arguments broke out, crowds gathered. Fear and confusion spread across the site. Then, without warning, gunshots shattered the air. Colonial police opened fire directly into the crowd of Nigerian miners. Panic erupted instantly. Some workers tried to flee. Others fell to the ground. Screams echoed across the valley as terrified miners scattered for safety. Within moments, the protest site became a scene of chaos and bloodshed. When the shooting finally stopped, 21 miners were dead. Many others were seriously wounded. The soil of Iva Valley was stained with blood, and Nigeria would never forget what happened there. News of the massacre spread rapidly throughout Nigeria. Public anger exploded. To many Nigerians, the killings became undeniable proof of the cruelty and injustice of British colonial rule. Newspapers condemned the shooting. Labor unions organized protests. Communities mourned the dead miners. Nationalist leaders used the tragedy to challenge colonial authority more aggressively than ever before. Among the loudest voices was Nnamdi Azikiwe, one of Nigeria's leading nationalist figures. He criticized the colonial government and demanded accountability. For many Nigerians, the massacre became more than just a labor dispute. It became a national symbol of oppression. The deaths of the miners awakened political anger across the country, and the demand for self-rule grew even stronger. The Enugu Coal Miners Massacre became one of the defining moments in Nigeria's anti-colonial struggle. Across the country, more Nigerians began demanding independence, democracy, dignity, and freedom from British rule. Nationalist movements gained momentum throughout the 1950s. The colonial government faced increasing pressure from political leaders, labor unions, students, and ordinary citizens. Then finally, on October 1st, 1960, Nigeria gained independence from Britain. Many historians believe tragedies like the Enugu Massacre helped fuel the determination that eventually ended colonial rule. The blood spilled in Iva Valley became part of the larger struggle for Nigerian freedom. Today, the memory of the miners still lives on in Enugu. Monuments and memorial statues honor the 21 workers who lost their lives during the massacre. The memorial stands not only as a tribute to the dead, but also as a reminder of sacrifice, resistance, and the price of freedom. For many Nigerians, the miners are remembered not simply as workers, but as martyrs whose deaths helped awaken a nation. The Enugu Coal Miners Massacre was not just a workplace tragedy. It was a turning point in Nigerian history. 21 unarmed workers entered a labor dispute demanding dignity and fair treatment, and never returned home alive. But although the colonial authorities silenced the miners with bullets, their deaths ignited something far more powerful: resistance, national consciousness, and the growing determination for freedom. The miners entered the coal pits as workers, but history remembered them as symbols of courage in the fight against colonial oppression. And from the darkness beneath the mines of Enugu emerged a fire that helped push Nigeria toward independence. If you enjoy the story and want more stories like this, subscribe to the channel at Africa Folktales, Movies and Storytelling.